Hello students and teachers, Brad Philpott here with another little video on the individual oral. And today I want to take a deep dive on how you can analyze both the extract and the work kind of back and forth in the individual oral. This is what I call method 1, and I called it that in a previous video called Organizing the Individual Oral, which I recommend you watch before this video. So I've talked about organizing the entire I/O on a timeline, and that timeline is the global issue essentially. So if you've got a 1-minute introduction and a 1-minute conclusion, that frees up 4 minutes for the literary work, 4 minutes for the non-literary work, and within those chunks, you'll be exploring an extract from each. Okay, now what's the organizing principle here? It's feature by feature. So when I say feature, I'm talking about an authorial choice of sorts. In the case of poetry, we might be talking about rhyme. In the case of photography, we might be looking at camera angle, right? So in another video on paper 1, I talked about PEEL, Point Evidence Explain Link, as a tool or a vehicle which allows us to do textual analysis. Remember, this is a course in textual analysis. Let's see how PEEL helps us do analysis here in these 4-minute chunks. So we're going to want to come up with some points about how an authorial choice, a stylistic feature, a literary feature is used by the author, the creator, the artist to present the global issue, right? And then we'll find evidence of that feature in the extract. Then we will provide an explanation or an analysis of the effects of that language, of that authorial choice on the reader or viewer. Okay, now, instead of linking back, we're going to provide evidence from outside the extract, but from the rest of the literary work or the rest of the non-literary body of work. So if we have just referenced the poem in front of us, now we're coming in with a quote from another poem that's not in front of us, which is a reason for perhaps putting a quote from outside the literary work or the non-literary work into your outline. So it's there in front of you. You can reference it during your performance. All right, then you'll explain or analyze the effects of that authorial choice on the reader, viewer, audience, and then you can link back to that global issue. So it's not PEEL, it's really PEEL, right? And you'll be doing this maybe 3 or 4 times within a 4-minute chunk. So let's look at an example of PEEL and see how the student is doing. So here's an example from a model individual oral that I have on my support site. It's about Maya Angelou's poetry. And the student says, an aspect of Angelou's poetry that inspires many people to overcome oppression, that's a shout out to her global issue, is its rhythm and musicality. Okay, authorial choices. The rhythm resembles a rhythm one can march to. I like that. Where the beat acts as strength. Good, I'm into this. Here's some evidence. By breaking the structural format of the stanzas and repeating the phrase, I rise, in line 30 and 32, comma, here comes the analysis. Angelou builds to a crescendo which evokes empowerment from the reader. Nice. Okay, now she's going to set up a quote from outside the extract. In her poem, Equality in 1990, written in 1990, in every third stanza, there are 2 verses instead of 4, in which Angelou repeats equality and I will be free. Equality and I will be free. All right, so we have an example from outside the extract. Then she analyzes that. This resembles the chorus of a rap song. Going out on a limb there, interesting. And thus the musicality of the poem enhances the impact of the message on the reader. Okay, finally linking back to the global issue, showing that it is possible to rise above oppression. I would call this a near perfect paragraph. I know you're not writing paragraphs. You are, however, writing an outline, and you're not allowed to use highlighters in your outline, but if I were to highlight parts of this student's outline, I can see she's doing PEEL 4 times in this section, and I've only looked at the first bullet point there. She does this 3 more times in a 4-minute section on Maya Angelou poetry and the extract I Rise. Okay, so again, I'm talking about kind of a zigzag approach where you're going back and forth between the extract and the rest of the work, extract and the rest of the work. I just did it in the case of a literary work with poetry, works really well. But you could do it, of course, in the 4-minute section on a non-literary body of work, perhaps going back and forth between a photograph that's in front of you as an extract and another photograph that has some common features as the rest of the non-literary work. And so perhaps you're referencing 2 or 3 more photographs in the course of this 4-minute section on your non-literary body of work. Okay, so again, this is what I call method 1. You can find some worksheets that go with this and that help you plan and organize your individual oral and structure it in this way. I also have lots of samples on my support site, including this example about Maya Angelou and the Dove Campaign for Real Beauty. I encourage you to check it out and have a listen. It's pretty darn good. I wish you the best on your own exams. Go get them. You got this.